Hi, how's it going? So, whew, getting in just right off the bat with my first box set of this series thing doing a series of events. This is Cattle Decapitation with Decade of Decapitation. This set was a Record Store Day 2014 exclusive, I believe. Pressed through Metal Blade, their home label, and I believe that this set in particular is restricted to 250 copies. Though, in all fairness, you can pick up all the individual records if you so desire. There's nothing super special about it beyond the collector's value and, of course, having everything all in one place, which is saved me a fair penny, honestly. So, yeah! Also looks fantastic. That looks absolutely brutal. And I'm going to set this down and start pushing through the records, but Cattle Decapitation is a West Coast grindcore and gore grind outfit that speaks largely on, and I'm sure you'll see it through this, the evils of eating meats and what have you. It's a very socially active type of, I guess, there is a level of social activism to what they write, though they aren't sort of like heavy-handed. I feel like there's a huge negative stigma around that, but they're mostly just like, passionate vegans, which is pretty dope. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. Chill out. And it also spawns fantastically gruesome cover arts such as this. This is their debut record, To Serve Man. And I feel like at this point, this was them kind of trying to figure themselves out a lot. This isn't my favorite record. It's still a great record. I think all these records are worth digging into. That's why I picked up the whole box set rather than just, picking them up separately. But this, I feel, they're still kind of trying to develop their sound. I feel Cattle Decapitation have kind of come in different phases with their music, and there are different, points at which I think they developed sounds that peaked, and I personally enjoyed a whole lot. I think that their late career stuff is a little bit more interesting for me personally, but there's still a lot to get out of their material like this, and nice, simple. It's gatefold looking, that's some old school. That looks like fucking Gorguts lighting type band pick, but stuff like that. And generally speaking, all of their pressings look real nice because they tend to have a lot of appreciation for the people that buy physical stuff from them. In fact, all their wax colored. And I believe this is, goodness gracious, they labeled all of their separate waxes because they all have a fairly unique job done on this. That's pretty neat with the pink with red splashes and black splotches. But I can't recall all of them, unfortunately. Feel free to look them up. Look up Decade of Decapitation, and they'll have like a listing of what exactly they chose to call their pressings. But it's really interesting. They put a lot of thought into it. So, I would encourage you to look it up. It's cool stuff, especially if, you're looking to get into some grind. Because it's savage stuff, bro. Good shit. This is probably the grossest of their cover arts. This is fucking humanure. And it's just a cow shitting out of face, man. And it's gross. And, actually, guys. Alright, so I'm going to open this up. One of the band members is new to the group because they have a shifting lineup, and I'm gonna have to ask you to guess which one it is. Yeah, that's right. It's the guy with the soul patch. But actually, the fucking wuss drummer sticks around for another record, which I was impressed by. I thought it was like, I looked at him just like, wow, this is the fucking goofiest motherfucker on the planet. And this one. I do remember the color of this one. This is Bloody Stool. Ooh, yucky. And also, this is a double disc. However, they only had enough for 3 sides, and in doing so, look at that. They did a no man etching on the back of the D side. So yeah, really cool stuff. Like I said, they have a lot of really cool little snippets that make you just a little bit more inclined to get into their physical copies and whatnot. And got a good gatefold. Got a little. Actually, I might as well mention it as well. Got a nice little lyric sheet on the inside because they spend time talking about thank yous and whatnot on the gatefold and adding in pictures and all that. You know, they don't do the same like format for each of their pressings. Because again, they care, man. They care, and this is the last in I think their first phase of music. I feel like they started experimenting a little bit from here on in different directions. Not to say that there wasn't slight variations on what they were doing before, but I feel like they took up a different stance with their next record. This is Bloody Karma. Pardon me, and perhaps the most conventional cover art. The whole bison Hindu type dealio is pretty played out. I don't want to say played out, but lyrics on the gatefold. No band pick on this one, which is always a shame because most of them are good. I'll point out the one that I hate, but and this also follows up the last in the iterations of Red. This is a little nice play on the traditional bright red. It's got like a nice dark one, singular dark streak, which is weird, and then some little splotches, little faint splotches, just to snazz it up a bit. Probably their least creative, I would say, but still, you gotta respect their attention to detail with these, and their difficulty fucking getting these things into the tight ass. Okay, we're good. We're good, guys. Don't worry about it. It's all right. Everything will be okay in the end. This is the fourth, and I forgot to mention what this box set covers. This is their 2002 to 2012 material. Therefore, Decade of Decapitation. They released one record since then, which I don't have yet, unfortunately, but I'll be picking it up at some point because this is some good ass grind, bro. And this is, of course, Harvest Floor. Kind of a departure from their old sound to an extent. This feels comparatively, I think maybe like a slight djent influence with some of this. I noticed they're just trying to try new sounds. They're getting to a point where they're a pretty experienced act. They're trying to mess with some new sounds, and it's pretty interesting, honestly. But unfortunately, the drummer, he just wasn't prepared for this kind of ridiculous slaughter, so he jumped out on that. But that's okay. We all forgive him and his 2-record run. Admirable. And I believe this is pretty simple pressing, but I believe it's called Bloody Steel, and you can tell some of the little red splat little chunklets are kind of on a different layer, so they went over the initial red bits, and then they did those little dots there. It's neat. Very rad indeed, my friends. Yes, quite. Yes, yes, my friends. Ha man, I'm gay. Then we got the last record in this set, and decent time on it. This is Monolith of Inhumanity. I think this might be my favorite record in their discography thus far, and that's why I'm saying I like their later career stuff. This is fucking just so heavy and punishing. It's a throttling record. I enjoy it very much, and starting to discuss slightly different musical themes on this. And okay, this is the one problem I have. That's not even metal. That's just gross. That's yucky. I don't need to see a guy projectile vomiting like that. It's foolish. But yeah, this is, it kind of touches upon the moral compass of folks in a pretty interesting way. I mean, they don't fucking go singer-songwriter on it, but it's just nice to see. And, probably the most ambitious waxwork yet with that freaking rainbow splatter. Whoa, beautiful. That is fantastic. I would have not even expected to see this on a metal record just ever. It's way too pretty, You want to see something fucking brutal. You want to see your reds and browns and your very earthy and hateful looking tones, I guess you could say. But I'm not complaining. That looks awesome. So, yeah. And that's that. Freaking box set, bro. Got a couple box sets. Another one coming up soon. A couple coming up soon, actually. Maybe we'll have to do one that's just that. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along. But, this is my only Chelsea Wolfe full length right now, regrettably. I touched upon one of my 7 inches of hers, and this is Apocalypsis, which stylistically I feel is one of my favorite records. It's just got this amazing feel of misanthropy, or misanthropy. I think it's misanthropy. I'm not sure. Fuck, dude, if I can't ever pronounce a gosh dang thing. But, a very interesting blend of dark wave, of dark folk even, with singer-songwriter bits, a little bit of shoegaze. You can feel some slight grunge influence in there too. It's this very depressive yet enveloping sound. I feel like on the first full song of this record, Myrrh, you can get this feel of almost like of a Slint song, not necessarily in the instrumentation, but in the vibe, in the subtle sadness it evokes in you as a listener. And it's absolutely beautiful in this very stark and somewhat depressing way. The packaging is pretty simple, but definitely gets the job done. And nice little inner sleeve. And my pressing is actually fucking ridiculous, because see, it's got this crazy black with orange splash through it. I don't know what to say. And it's almost reversed on the other side of it, which is super interesting. I would love to know how they went about doing that, because I do not have many, if any, other records that look like that. It's super snazzy. So yeah, really cool to get a record I enjoy so much on such an interesting and unique pressing. Ooh, and keeping at it with City of Caterpillar. This is a early 2000s screamo act. I feel like it's really great time to be getting into screamo, because all of those bands like the Orchid, the City of Caterpillars, even the Envies are starting to get enough notice that people are looking at these records that totally got no attention and finally repressing them. This is a very recent repress of this record. Looks great. Pretty simple packaging. They didn't have to do a whole lot, right? But I feel like it seems pretty true to the original pressing, if I'm to understand correctly. And the exception, of course, being that it came on this nice little. I believe the term for this is Coke bottle. It's got this nice very faint teal to it. Sounds great. A little rough around the edges, but I kind of like it more for that, because that's just kind of how I enjoy my emo punk type music, stuff in that vein. I like a little bit more of a rough around the edges feel to it, so no complaints there, honestly. And going in a pretty different direction, you got my fucking clipping, bro. Clipping. Fantastic outfit. very interesting and unique experimental rap outfit from the West Coast. This is their Sub Pop debut. It is loaded with these extremely textured and dense, noisy instrumentals over this hard-nosed, very measured delivery from David Diggs, who is on a technical level absolutely incredible. He can vary his flows in these very unique ways. You can tell just from like every aspect of this is like one of the most pretentious rap projects you'll ever hear, because basically what this is on a theoretical level, it's their artistic take on the traditional rap song, like the on the really heavy gangsta track, on the club anthem, on the conscious track, which they use, But it's just so incredibly interesting, and I feel like they've done such an incredible, unique sound with this record. It takes a much more accessible direction with the production in comparison to their Mid City mixtape, which is absolutely something I'd look into if you're into that like harsh noise and industrial style of music, because it is fantastic in that regard. But this, I feel, has much more of a mainstream draw, which is not something that always works out well, but with this, I feel like it totally does, and it's just, I can't say enough about this project because I fucking adore it. But it is on a triple LP, huge undertaking with all the members. There's David in the center. It's just, whoo, very thick, very lovely pressing on this. Big fan of this record. And another record from last year that I enjoyed a lot, and of course the follow-up to that, we've got Splendor and Misery. This is, I would say, maybe even their hardest record to digest. While it's not nearly as abrasive as their Mid-City mixtape, it is just absolutely impenetrable on a conceptual level, because this is I guess something of a story record of a dystopian future wherein a slave is boarded onto a spaceship, takes it over, has the ship itself fall in love with him, and then he starts a coup. And this is a rap record. That will encourage nobody to listen to it out of anything other than sheer curiosity. But I thought if anyone could do it, it was Clipping, and fuck if they didn't do it. And it is just an absolutely incredible listen that they did a fantastic job bringing to life. It's kind of something that you have to, for the most part, listen as a whole project. The only track that I think has any real like single power is, of course, Air 'Em Out, which is what they debuted as a single to this release. But listening to it as a full project, just out of sheer curiosity, I feel like you can find a lot to enjoy in it. I got a nice little spacey inner sleeves. And I think it was called the Loser's Edition, fitting because I suck dick, but it's beautiful. Very, very clear wax. Like, normally it's just milky, but this is absolutely fucking nutty how clear they got that. So, yeah. Great record. Real good record. Ooh. And maybe last, we'll see. We got Clips. Clips, everybody. Hell hath no fury. Woo! This covered a lot of bases for me, because not only am I generally a very big fan of Neptune's production, but I'm also a pretty big Pusha T mark as well. So this just gets everything. And of course, anything else I could really grab from Neptune's is kind of hit or miss. Like their producer curated thing is just fucking whack, and I'm really upset about that. That like the only good tracks on that are the Pusha T cut, which is yeah. And the one with Ludacris was really nice, but beyond that, anyway, this, I think they managed to really sneak in just the best of the best. The production's always tight, the hooks are real good, and the rapping is as you would expect, really sharp, and they keep it nice and quick, very brief, freaking like 12 tracks. Love me a good concise record. You always have to feel like once it gets past like 14 on something like this, that's just general, not tied to any kind of huge concept. It gets kind of you know how it is, guys. You know how it is. But yeah, and they did a really great job pressing. This is only started getting pressed somewhat recently, and I feel like this looks very similar to some kind of UGK homage with the way they mapped it all out. And as for the record itself, they decided to put it down on this nice little white wax. Whew. Pretty simple, but effective. And that is going to, I think, do it for this issue of I Talk About Things I Like.